Hi, welcome everyone to our week 4 live session for DES 114. I am your graphic arts instructor, Shannon McNamara. So we have kind of a lot of things to go over today, which is always what you want to hear at the beginning of the live session. But I'm going to do my best to try to fit it all in, and I got a little bit creative with how I'm going to fit one of the things that I really wanted to do in, which was our critique for this week. But anyways, let's just jump right in and get started. So just a reminder that my telephone hours are roughly Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. Mountain Time to 4 p.m. Mountain Time, but you can email me anytime. Just note that I am located in Eastern Standard Time, so please be aware of the time zone change when you're trying to reach me. All right, so our agenda, I have a couple of announcements to go over, and then we'll do a quick review of those principles of graphic design. And then I also wanted to go over changing those colors from spot to process colors, because some people were having some issues with some spot colors showing up in your swatches panel this week, which I did note. So if you need to fix that, we'll go over that. Also, we'll talk about preparing a document for print through packaging, which we have been doing all along, but just a little refresher, and then how to set up our week 4 assessment. And then the final thing was the critique of student work. And I was afraid, because there's just so many things to go over today, that we weren't going to get to that. So what I did is, in the week 4 discussion, I took a sampling of 10 different students' work and I set it up as a campaign, each one. So if you go into the discussion and scroll down, you can see I have them numbered 1 through 10. I have the campaign set up, so if you would like to do a critique, this can count as one of your responses to your fellow students this week. And I have just a couple of, notes on how to give constructive feedback within the critique as well. So if you didn't have all 3 assignments, in the week 2 assessment, which was the poster, the week 3 assignment, and the week 3 assessment by yesterday, I didn't have all of the pieces to put together to put your work up. So, some people who were missing some things, that's why your stuff might not be showcased. I just want to let everyone know. And yeah, so you can go in and take a look. And I think it's awesome to see, your fellow students' work and how they, kind of tackled their design problems over the last few weeks. So again, and it's so interesting because we're all given the same, the same photos, the same logo, but we can end up with wildly different layouts. And I always love to see that. All right, so let's talk about our due dates. So we have a week 4 discussion this week. I will go over the discussion question in a little bit more detail in a minute. The original post is due up by Wednesday, and then all late assignments and assessments are actually due by Friday. So that's week 2. Let me just change that bullet point. Week 1 and 2 assignments and assessments, or I should say late assignments and assessments, are due by Friday at midnight. If you need until Saturday, you must email me for a Dropbox link to put your work into. The week 4 assignments cannot be turned in late. The course will turn into a pumpkin at midnight on Saturday night. It will close itself out. You will not be able to upload. So don't wait until the last minute to upload. Think of it this way. Not only is everyone in the School of Graphic Design uploading, everyone in the business school, everyone in allied health, everyone in the MBA program, everyone's course closes out Saturday at midnight. So that can be really taxing on the server, and we have some pretty large files, so it can take a little bit longer than usual to upload on Saturdays. If you run into any problem uploading, please make sure that you are emailing me your work. So that way I have it first thing Sunday morning and I will grade it. If it's not in my email first thing Sunday morning with a note saying, hey, it didn't go through on the upload, I'm going to assume that you didn't do it and it will be zeroed out. If you haven't submitted your week 3 discussion plus, please do that by this Saturday as well. And then if you wanted to redo any of your previous assignments, that is due Tuesday at midnight. And then all late work, again, is due by Friday unless you make those special arrangements with me to turn it in on Saturday, and you will need a Dropbox link because week 1 and 2, the submissions will close out. All right, so our final multi-session will be tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Mountain Time. So again, if you have any questions or concerns, please make sure that you are coming into the multi-session. And again, we went over our CRAP principles of design last week. So those were contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. So again, when it comes to contrast, if 2 elements are different, we want to make those differences really striking. And I think that this poster is a great example of that. You have the contrast of the color, you have, the contrast of even like male and female, and sitting in a chair, sitting on a sofa, just so many different things are just differences in the poster. I think that this was a great example of contrast. Then we have repetition. So using repeated elements to direct, organize, and structure. And one of the things that we use for repetition is our paragraph styles. So, by setting up those paragraph styles and having that repetition in our type, that it keeps everything nice and neat. All of our body copy always looks the same. So when we're reading something, our mind tends to associate things. So when we hit a different font and we recognize that as body copy, we know, oh, okay, this is a section that I'm going to read. Even though we might not say that to ourselves or consciously think it, subconsciously, that's what we do. The same thing with the headline or a subheadline. We know that there's going to be a new type of information that we're getting, based on that. So we really want to set up our brochures using those paragraph styles so that way visually we can group certain things together. Then we also use alignment, so lining up our elements to create visual structure. So we keep things nice and neat in our 3 columns of our trifold. We don't want things kind of all over the place. We want to make sure that there's some good alignment there, again, to keep the information organized, to create that visual structure. And then proximity. We group together related elements so that their spatial relationship organizes and emphasizes. So a good example of that really is in our trifold. So let me open up, which one was I gonna open? This is a good one. So again, this is a good way to look at that proximity. So, kayak rental info. We have, the nice headline. Again, we have our contrast, we have our repetition, the body styles, the paragraph styles are the same. We have our alignment. Everything is nice and neat and aligned within our columns. And then we have that proximity. So we have, all of the information regarding renting the kayaks in this column. We don't have kayak rental info and then the body copy for it over here and maybe the price point for how much it costs over here somewhere. That's what proximity is. Proximity is keeping the headline kayak tour sales and service near the logos because that they go together. Keeping the headline and near the rest of the information that goes with it. A tour package for every taste, and then these are the tour packages, and they're kept together. There's that proximity between the information. That's what I feel that sometimes people have a little bit of trouble with that proximity one. So that's what that means. It's keeping information that goes together visually. And then we also went over a couple of design tips and tricks. So fonts, make sure that you're limiting the number of fonts on your page. And then text on top of a high contrast background is difficult to read. So we went over that in week 1 when we were going over all of our colors. The red on the green background or the green text on the red background can be difficult to read because there's just so much high contrast there. And then we went over the KISS principle. So keep it simple, stupid, because simple designs can really be beautiful. Colors, limit your colors, pick a color scheme, and then high value colors are high contrast, but they're easy to class. So if I used only primary colors, those are a lot of high contrast colors, but it's also really easy for me to class those colors as being primary colors. So, those are the things that you want to think about when you're putting together those color schemes in Adobe Color. And then stand out, make your design unique, distinct, make it easily recognizable. Think of Nike, Apple, and Volkswagen. They have simple yet really recognizable graphic design. Okay, so converting to spot color. And I want to share this with you. I'm going to share all my slides with you like I always do. But I took some screenshots and I figured it might make it a little bit easier to walk you through fixing that in InDesign if you ran into having a spot colors that need to be converted to CMYK. So you can tell the difference between a spot color and a CMYK color based on the icons. So my document right here currently has 2 spot colors. They're green and purple. And you can see that there is, instead of this little kind of gradiated pattern here on the left, it has a dot in the center, a lighter gray dot from a dark gray back center. And that signifies that there's a spot color. And I really wish that there was a way to make the icons in InDesign just a little bit bigger, because when you're first getting used to working in the program, these are things that you just tend to miss. So you kind of have to be on the lookout for it. But they do come up as an error when you're packaging your file. So what you would want to do is select both of the swatches. You can hold down Shift to select them both, and then go over to your swatch options, which is those 4 bars, the symbol in the upper right-hand corner, and then go down to swatch options. So before, you can see that the color type was set as spot. You want to change that to process, and then just hit OK. And what it does is it will convert those swatches from spot colors to CMYK colors, or from spot colors to process colors. So that takes care of it for you, which is great. And then another way that you can check it before you make that PDF is you can go to Window Output and then Separations Preview. And in the separations preview, if you still have the spot colors, you'll notice that there's more than 4 plates, because that's what it does, is it makes a PDF with the 2 spot colors. And remember when we were talking about the printing press, and I was telling the story about when I used to work in pre-press, and if you didn't notice that the extra plates, so the green plate and the purple plate came out, if you didn't notice it, whatever was colored with those colors will come out as blank on the coupon. So you had to make sure that everything had been converted, and that those were some of the errors that we ran into with artwork that was sent to us by outside clients. So we want our plates to look like this, just the cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. We don't want to have all these extra spot colors. So again, always make sure when you're sending a file to a printer, make sure that those PDF files are ready for that final press output. You want to make sure that everything is set exactly how it needs to be. you don't want to take on having to reprint something because you made the PDF wrong or you missed a couple of swatches. And then there's some other things that you should also check for when you're preparing a document for print. You should do a spell check. Check the colors. Check for missing links. Those are your images. Check for missing fonts. Make sure that all of your bleeds and your margins are set up correctly. Nothing is running outside the margin that shouldn't. Nothing is running outside of the bleed mark that shouldn't, because you don't want, important information cut off. Again, make sure all those mixed colors are CMYK, including colors from imported files. A lot of times that's where that happens. And again, you can identify and remove all unnecessary colors from the swatch panel. You can even just delete them. You can add unnamed colors to the swatch panel. You can convert those spot colors to CMYK. You'll also want to make sure you're doing that for your RGB swatches. Click on those, go to swatch options, and change it from RGB to CMYK in the drop down, and make sure that everything is all set. And then I wanted to show you this little tip too. Under fonts, you want to make sure that all of your fonts are free of any problems in the find font box. And if you're running into fonts that just, no matter what, they just give you trouble, which happens. It happens a lot, where a font might work just fine on your machine, but you try to make a PDF of it and it comes out a mess. What you can actually do is convert troubled fonts to outlines, but just like we did in Illustrator with our sign, you always want to make sure that you save two different versions, that you save that outline version as something completely different and name it outlines, because if you have to change the body copy or the headline or any of the text that you've changed, that you've converted to outlines, it's no longer workable text. So it would have to all be, re-input. So let me show you how to do that real quick. I'm just going to make a new document, and we'll do some of our troubleshooting, random things that might have happened in that document. Let's just do a quick 8.5 by 11. Although that's fine too. All right, so let's say that I have make a new color swatch. I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to add it to swatches, and I'm purposely going to make this one spot so you can see. And then I'm also going to add this one to swatches. Oh, let me change it just a little bit. And this one I'm going to change to RGB. So you can see the difference in the swatches panel. So my Pantone or spot color right here has that little spot. And my RGB swatch has, instead of the 4 blocks showing the CMYK, when I hover over it, you can see it's 3 bars for RGB. So we changed them kind of the same way. So you can go up here to swatch options, or what you can even do is just double click on the color. And for the RGB swatch, you're just going to change the color mode from RGB to CMYK and hit OK. And that takes care of that. And it's also going to fix everything on your document that had that color attached to it, which is good. And then you can do the same, you can do the same thing for our green swatch here, our spot swatch. You can either go to swatch options, like I showed you in the slideshow, or you can double click. And then for this one, up here, this still says CMYK, but the color type is spot. So I want to change that to process and hit OK. And then those will both be ready to go. So then maybe we have, a font that's just not PDFing correctly. And I've run into this a lot. A lot of times too, this happens with files that you get from other people. It doesn't necessarily happen with your own files because we have the fonts on our machines and they seem to be working just fine. But maybe you have a font that just, it doesn't work right. Or this would actually be an example that I've done when I've sent something to a printer. Helvetica, very common font. But you can see how many different versions just on my own machine I have of Helvetica. Quite a few different versions. So I always get worried when I send my files somewhere and I've packaged them and I've sent them with the fonts that they might have their own version of Helvetica on their machine and they'll say to themselves, oh, you know, I don't need to load her version of Helvetica. I'll just use my version of Helvetica Bold. Well, as you can see, we have a Helvetica Bold, a Helvetica New Bold, and then I also have, I might not have it loaded right now. There's also a Helvetica 75 Bold that exists somewhere on my machine. So it may not seem as though that it's that, you know, that big of a deal. One Helvetica Bold versus another Helvetica Bold. But sometimes there's just very, very, very slight variations in the Helveticas. So let me try finding the other one. Here's my other one. I'm gonna make this just a little bit bigger. And again, you probably can't see it, but there's a little bit of a difference in the spacing of the true type Helvetica Bold and the open source Helvetica Bold. Again, not that much of a difference to the naked eye, but it is enough that if I'm using it in body copy, it might shift something from one line to the next line, which can mess up my rag or can cause there to be, you know, overset text that might not print just because the person didn't load the correct font. So one way that I found to stop this from happening is I'll change my fonts to outlines. And the way that you do that is you select the text box with the black arrow key. So instead of having the text selected with the text tool, go to the black arrow key and you would go to type, create outlines. And then what it is it's no longer type anymore. It's the same thing as this box. It's just vector artwork. So that, you know, that will really stop those problems from occurring. But what I would always want to do is as soon as I save it with the type set to outlines, I want to do a save as and name that file, you know, something dash outlines, which is completely different from my version that I have that has all of my text. So that's how I would fix some of those problems that I might run into. And then packaging those files. Again, I'm going to do another demo of this. Let me go in. Week 4. So this is an older version of the trifold that I've done in previous classes where side 1 and side 2 have been completed, and I didn't get a chance to do side 2 because I really went into going over setting it up last week. So again, to package this, you want to just go to File, Package, and make sure you don't have any errors. So just kind of go through, make sure there's no errors showing up. Hit the package button. It says it needs to be saved, so I'll save it. And then go into week 4. And again, I'll want to include a PDF that has all my printer marks, so the crop and bleed marks there, and hit package. And then it says, sometimes it gives you the restrictions for copying fonts. Just say okay. And it always seems to take so long when I'm doing a demo. It's like the world's longest amount of time to package something. Although InDesign was being just a little bit slow earlier, just getting that type box to come up. I restarted before our live session too, but the more updates they do with the CC programs, just the more space it seems to take up, the more memory it uses. So we'll let that continue to do its thing. I'll be able to, I guess, monitor it over here. All right, so then again, that student critique, I put all of those files into the discussion post for this week because I want to make sure that, everybody gets to see everything that we can do. You want to make sure that you're giving constructive feedback. And one of the ways to give that constructive feedback is the sandwich method. So you start off focusing on the strength of the piece. What you like about it. Then you can provide your critique, which is your constructive criticism. So things that you didn't like, areas of improvement. And then lastly, you want to round it off with a reiteration of the positive comments that you gave at the beginning. And then, I think it's best that if you are providing, criticism, that you should also provide an idea for improvement. Just saying like, oh, I don't like this. It's not helpful. So you just want to say, I think maybe if we swapped out this photo, that might be, what will make this work a little bit better. Those are some of the things that you can do in that critique. Man, it is taking forever to make that PDF for some reason. I don't know why, but there we go. So again, while it just sits there chugging away, making a PDF, let's look at what we need to do for week 4. And it's just going to sit up here in the corner on me, just creating a PDF and taking the longest time possible. All right. So for this week, we're setting up our files as though we are ready to send them to the printer. They're ready to go. Our client has approved everything. They love our designs. They want to go with it. So we're going to get ready to send everything over to our printer. Don't forget for this week that we also have our week 4 readings and videos. So you have the lecture, the week 1 lecture, which is different from my lecture in the week 4. It's going over color theory review, talking about color with a client, more on those design principles, branding in color, choosing a color palette, and then learning through looking at examples, revisions, proofs, and press checks, linked images, pre-flight, and packaging. So a couple of the things I just went over. In our textbook, we have chapters 7 and 8 that need to be read. So again, going over some cross-platform issues, job submissions, creating a package print-ready press file, and then creating a print-ready PDF. And then we also have some lynda.com videos. So there is chapter 7, chapter 10, and then a conclusion. So again, examining graphic formats, using overprint preview in InDesign. That was what I was showing you to see if you have any of those spot plates showing up. and then submitting that job, creating a package print ready pre-press file. So don't forget about those readings and videos this week. Let's go back to our week 4 discussion. We'll go over that. I don't think this is ever going to make a PDF. Ever. I'll make it tomorrow at the rate it's going. Probably going to have to cancel it. Let's see if it'll even let me. Or let's see if InDesign is even, it doesn't say it's quit out yet. So, all right. Let it go for a couple more minutes, but then I might have to force quit. All right, so this week in the discussion, we're talking about lossy versus lossless images, which can be kind of hard to wrap your mind around. So what I want to point out immediately is after you read over the background and the prompt, please read over my first discussion. I'm hoping that that will help you to kind of get a little bit more of an understanding of the lossy side of things. But, you know, basically what it is it's the 2 different types of file formats that you're used to working with. When you download something as a JPEG, which we download things as JPEGs all the time, especially from the web. And let's say that I think the best example of this would probably be a photo that you took with your cell phone, because your cell phone takes photos as JPEGs. So let's say that you went in to your iCloud. I have an iPhone, so I'm just going to use, you know, my iCloud as an example. And I went into the Photos app and I dragged a photo that I took with my cell phone off and I put it on my desktop. And then because I want to open it up and I want to save it in Photoshop for something else. So I open up that JPEG and I save that JPEG again. And then maybe in a month, I'm like, oh, remember that picture I took of those leaves? It was pretty awesome. Let me find that JPEG. So I open the JPEG up again and I save it again somewhere else. Then I open it up again and I save it again. Over time, what ends up happening is the JPEG begins to lose pixels. It's kind of crazy how it happens. It throws data away. And you may have noticed it if you've resaved a file a whole bunch of times that you seem to use, especially pictures, like they don't look as crisp as when you first took them, and you think to yourself, well, is it because I have a better camera now and I never noticed it? It could be, but it could also be if you've opened it up enough times and saved it enough times that just keeps happening. And I have run into this problem at a place where I used to work. We used to have to keep opening up files and saving the file forward. That's what we used to call it. So, you know, somebody designed a coupon and they gave us the pictures that they wanted to use, and they were saved as JPEGs, which at the time we thought was fine. We converted them to CMYK. They were doing their thing. Everything was fine and dandy. And then what ended up happening is maybe 3 years down the line where they've run that same exact coupon every single time over and over again, and that same JPEG has been opened, resaved, and moved forward, opened, resaved, and moved forward, opened, resaved, and moved forward, maybe, you know, 30 times in a year or something. Well, it all of a sudden starts to lose, you know, some of its compression that's attached to it. And it begins to look kind of fuzzy and it doesn't look right. What we found out we had to do was go all the way back to the original time that ad ran with that original JPEG, and we had to resave it as a TIFF file, because the TIFF file, even though it's opened and saved, opened and saved, opened and saved, it's not throwing away the data, throwing away the pixels every time we did a save as command. And we really had to change the way that we were doing things. So this is a real world example of a time that I ran into that problem, and this is how we had solved the problem. And it really wasn't, it really wasn't, a great use of time trying to go back through the eons of time and space to try to find the first time that coupon ran. But it was a lot easier than having to go to the client and say, listen, your image is starting to get fuzzy, so can you send that to us? Because you want to know what the client was going to say. Well, how long has my image been running fuzzy? I think I want a credit on my account. So we used to just try to fix it before they noticed, because a lot of times, it wasn't that noticeable, but you want to make sure that you're printing the best work possible. So you want to do all of the things that you can to ensure that happens. So let's look at our background of our discussion this week. In today's world, you're likely to purchase stock photography for your project, and it's tempting to just download the JPEG provided and begin to reformat it directly for your projects. But that's not recommended, and here's why. Every time you open and resave a JPEG, the information within it is diminished. You're literally throwing pixels away with every single save as command. Files that are formatted as JPEG, they have a lossy compression attached to them. That means that the original data is not preserved. Lossless is a second compression system that preserves the original data. So those lossless files, they're usually larger, and that's why they're not often utilized, especially online. And that's why we weren't utilizing them at my work, because they were larger, and server space costs money. But eventually we had to pay, we had to up our server space. So there's a short video attached to the discussion this week that does a really great job of explaining the difference between lossy and lossless compression. So please make sure that you watch it. And then notice how the narrator describes the different compressions and their effect. And much of what he explains will help you with this week's discussion. So here's our prompt for this week. So we're working with our same client because they love us. We keep solving all their problems for them. We solved all their problems last week, and we got that job, and we recreated their logo as a vector file, and now we're ready to move on to work on brochures, billboards, and more. And the owner of the company again says, hey, can you go to my website to get those pictures that I have up there? Because he clearly didn't learn from last week. So for our initial post this week, you need to address the following questions. Number one, are those photos going to work for the project that he's hired you to do? Why or why not? So again, think of, number one, the size of a photo off of a website versus the size of a photo you would need for a billboard. Think of it that way. But how are you going to also explain the dilemma to your client that, why or why not you can't use this? And then where does that lossy and lossless compression figure into this? And what I would challenge you to do this week is to solve the dilemma for your client. So when you're explaining the dilemma to them, how can you solve it? Because that's what they're paying you to do. They're paying you to solve their problems. So if you feel that you can't use those images, how are you going to potentially solve the problem and get images for his billboard? So those are some of the things that you're going to want to think about. So for your citation this week, because we're going to need a citation, you might use articles that describe lossy versus lossless compression, or print versus web resolution and color, or what file type is best for which job. And then when you're looking at your fellow students' posts, discuss the effectiveness of their response. So you might consider addressing questions such as which points they had that came across well and which needed further explanation, what might help clarify their points, and then can you share resources that you found in your research that might help clarify a point. So again, your initial and reply post should work to develop a group understanding of this topic. Make sure to challenge each other, build on each other. Always be respectful, but discuss it and figure it out together. And again, make sure that you are posting by Wednesday night and responding to 2 of your fellow students by Saturday night. And like I was saying earlier, if you would like to use one of your student responses to take part in the student critique, I really suggest that. I think that that would be an awesome use of one of your responses. If you still want to respond to 2 of your students and respond to the critique, I think that would be doubly awesome. So again, just some things to do. All right. So I am clearly going to have to cancel out of this packaging because it is not working at all. I have to force quit InDesign. Ugh, what a mess. And restart it back up, and hopefully it'll just work. Poor InDesign. I'm not sure if it was the app that I had 3 apps that had a update this morning, and I didn't really check. I saw Illustrator was one of them and Bridge was one of them, but I wasn't quite sure what the third one was. And now I'm wondering if it was InDesign and something weird happened. Let me see. I'll just save you. Well, I'm not even going to save you because I don't know if I corrupted you while I was doing stuff. I have it saved elsewhere. All right. So let's take a look at what we need to do for week 4. And I do have some easy ways, at least I think, that are easy to get done what we need to get done in week 4. So I'm going to go over that with you. All right, so let's read over our background. We've covered a lot of ground this mod. We have. I love DES 114 because so many of every single project, I would say, maybe outside of creating the color wheel, the color wheel was important because it's really good to understand, why our colors work together and the way they work. But everything for week 2 and week 3, these are all projects that you're going to see out in the field. And that's why I think that it's so important, each of these projects, and understanding each of these projects and how to do them each week. Because you're really going to see, posters and trifolds and making a sign, or, things like that are really going to come up over and over again. So again, we've covered a lot of ground this mod. You've learned about color theory, the role that color plays in design, and several color schemes. You've learned how to technically put files together and then convert files to colors that the press can use. There's another important aspect when it comes to saving files, and that's in respect to lossy and lossless compression. So in this week's discussion, you discovered the difference between lossy and lossless compression. Now we're going to learn what file types are appropriate for your print file. So again, sending those files over to the printer. Most image stockhouses where you have to pay to download high quality images will provide a TIFF file. So that's .tif, a tagged image format file with LZW compression. The reason LZW compression is used is it will have almost all of the data and information, so the pixels, in it when the professional photographer took the image. Adding a lossless compression to TIFF files called LZW does make the file a bit smaller for faster download, but in today's high-speed internet connection, it's really not that much of an issue. This brings us to what you should do if you are given a JPEG. Just because it's a JPEG, which think about, we were given JPEGs in week 2 and we were given JPEGs in week 3. It doesn't mean you can't use it for print, but you need to know its source. So most non-professional cameras will save what you take as a JPEG, and that's fine. And even professional cameras now, they save it as a JPEG as well. But you want to always keep those files in a folder where you open them once and then immediately do a save as and save them as a new file to work with. Again, you don't want to be opening up that original, saving it, opening up that original and saving it, and potentially destroying your original file. So The best practice on this is to save it immediately as a TIFF or a PSD file. Now, when should you use a PSD file? That's our Photoshop native document. So you probably remember using those files back in DES 104. If you have an object or an area that's masked, or you need to make a background show through when it's placed in InDesign or Illustrator, or you know definitely that you need to be working with multiple layers, you want to use a PSD file. And those files are even larger than the TIFF files because of all of those layers. But it is a common format that you can use for transparency in print. And yes, the web says, hey, you can use a GIF or a PNG file for transparency, but those don't have that CMYK color space option, so the printer would have to convert them. And when you convert a GIF or a PNG file to CMYK, not only is it going to give you an unexpected color shift, but it's no longer going to be a PNG or a GIF file that they save. So you're going to end up losing that transparency that happens. So, and again, more importantly, the quality of those GIFs and PNG files is very limited. So as you prepare for this assignment, we're going to pretend like it's the real deal and you're sending files to a printer. So you want to keep in mind that all of your photos now, going forward, need to be saved as a TIFF or a PSD file along with the correct resolution and scaling. So what this means is we need to convert our JPEGs to TIFF files and then bring them back into InDesign. But that can be a little bit scary just because you don't want to, just be replacing the files and possibly place them a different size than you had them originally. So I want to show you an easier way to do it. And it involves a couple of steps, but I think personally that it's kind of the best way to do this to alleviate having your design change by accident. So I'm gonna show you how to do it in that trifold brochure. But you're going to have to do it for your poster and your brochure this week. So I want to go over again in detail all of the different things, all of the different elements that you're going to need to submit for your week 4 assignment. So again, here's our prompt for this week. This assignment's to prepare you for the correct way to send those files to the printer. The design revisions that you received from me would be what a client is going to tell you. So those things need to be fixed before you send it to the press, or it'll be really expensive for you to reprint it as the designer. So go through the comments that I've left you, make the changes that I've recommended, and then also we're going to make sure that we change our file types for our images, put everything back together, package it all nice and neatly for our printer, and then send it off on our way, and we should be good to go. So again, look at my feedback on the technical issues, fix the things that were noted. Learning what needs to be sent correctly to the printer the first time will save you time, and it will definitely save you money. If your files are not set up correctly, again, sometimes the printer can fix them for you, but they're going to charge you for it. And it will be in addition to the bid that you sent out to your client, so you're going to have to pay for those fixes out of your profit, not the client. So you need to incorporate design and technical revisions, again, per my feedback, on the following projects from this mod. The week 2 poster, the week 3 brochure, and the week 3 sign. So let's look at our pre-press requirements for the poster and brochure. Again, your images need to be converted to the correct color model. That's CMYK. Make sure all of those images that you've opened them up in Photoshop, saved them as CMYK. Then you need to make sure that they're placed at the correct resolution. So if I noted in your brochure or I noted in your poster that the image you chose, it's too small for the size that you want it to be, you need to swap it out for one of those bigger images that you were given. Then we need to make sure that we're saving those files as the appropriate file type. I don't believe I saw anyone who had transparencies, because you would have already saved your file as a PSD file. So I'm pretty sure everybody this week will need to save their files as a TIFF file. Then you want to double check that your bleeds are correctly implemented and that your margins and gutters are properly positioned. And you want to make sure all of the information that needs to be within your margin in that safe area, that live area, that it's in there. So make sure that your logo's not sticking out, and your headlines or your body copy, that everything's in there where it needs to go. And that's for your poster and your brochure. For your sign, you want to make sure that that logo and the text colors, they're correctly set up for that spot color. So using those 2 Pantone colors that you selected in week 2. You want to make sure that the aspect ratio for enlarging is correct. So it should have been 10 inches across by 4 inches tall. And that all elements are properly created to be fully scalable for enlargement. So that means that you've got that AI file, everything's vector, then you're good to go. And I didn't see anyone using Photoshop or anything this week for this assessment. So that's good. Again, there is some work that I haven't graded yet that came in late, but I'm pretty sure everybody was pretty good on that. All right, so the poster and brochure, you're gonna create a package for print file out of InDesign, and then create that press quality PDF. So again, that press quality PDF needs to have the crop and bleed marks in there, so your printer knows exactly where it needs to be cropped and where the bleed is located. And then for the sign, you need a native Illustrator file and a press quality PDF. So this is where it gets a little interesting for your sign. Remember last week I said, make sure that you save a version of your sign called text with your text still set to text, and that you made a PDF with your text set to outlines, because you need to upload the native Illustrator file, so that AI file where your text is still text, and then a press quality PDF where the text has been turned to outlines. So you have to upload both of those. You're going to create one folder called DES114 Assignment 4 with your first and last name, and you're going to put all 3 of those projects in there. And then you're going to zip that folder and upload it. And there is a note, if you're having trouble and the zip folder's too large, it does tell you how you could break it down into 3 different folders, and that's okay if you have to do that. Then we're going to create some web-friendly JPEGs of your campaign and upload them to your Behance site. And I have a couple of cool ideas that I wanted to show you today regarding that. So hopefully I'll get around to that, because you can always just upload just the JPEG, but there are some cool assets that you can download right from the Adobe Cloud, where you can mock up your trifold so it looks like it's sitting on a table, and you can mock up your sign so it looks like a sign out in the forest. So there's some pretty cool things that we can do, again, to really just add something to your Behance page. So best practice, keep all the native files you use to create the project in this course for possible revisions after the course is ended. A lot of people use the projects from this course for their portfolio and their capstone classes. So again, you want to make sure you're keeping all of those native files. Make sure you're reading over the rubric this week. And again, we're going to go over this in more detail. Week 4 assessment is actually a quiz. It's worth 35 points, and there's 11 questions, and there's no time limit, which is great. So if you get a little bit stumped on a question, open up a new browser window, go back to the readings, go back to the book in the course, and see if you can find the answer. Take your time to try to get the best possible score you can on the quiz. And then we also have the career integration. So that's 3 questions. They're worth 15 points each. I'm sure at this point you guys are totally used to the career integration. Just remember to do it. I feel like a lot of people forget to do it, and it's worth 15 points. So it's worth taking the time to do it this week. All right, so let's go back in. And again, I want to show you my little tip for getting those TIFF files back into InDesign. All right, so I have a finished brochure, and I've already saved them right there for that week. So let me go into week 3. And I just need to find my old file that I created. Oh, wow, first try. That never happens. All right, so I am going to, this is what I think is the easiest to do. So pretend that this isn't like my old file. Pretend this is my file I created last week. And again, this is where having those different week folders can really help you out. What I like to do is I like to make a copy of my assignment for week 3, but open up one Finder window over here, and then open up my week 4 window over here. And I want to make sure, why on earth is nothing? All right, move you over there for now. And then I want to hold down my Option key and copy this folder over, and you'll see I get that green plus sign. So I've copied it into week 4. And I'm going to rename it to assignment 4. I'm going to open it up. And you can delete out the IDML and the PDF file. And name this number 4. And then you're going to go in and you're going to grab all of your JPEGs and open them up in Photoshop. So again, we'll drag all of these into Photoshop. Which is a good chance for you to double check that they're saved as CMYK too. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a file, save as, make sure you're in the right folder, and just change the drop down from JPEG to TIFF and hit save. And you can change the compression to LZW and leave everything over here as it is and hit OK. And then close it out. Do that for each of them. Okay, close it out. So you're just going through and just saving all your JPEGs as TIFF files. And last 2. All right, perfect. Then we're going to open up our InDesign file. And hopefully my InDesign will cooperate now. And I'm just going to change that to normal. And I'm going to open up my links palette. And sometimes it's easier to just kind of drag it out. So what I want to do is I want to swap out my JPEGs for my TIFF files. So in my links, I am going to navigate over to where it says, brochure image 3 JPEG. And again, you don't want to replace this because then you're going to have to resize it again and do all of the different things that you already did once. So I want to relink it. And I'm going to, which is this little lock key. It's the second icon. I'm going to go to Mod 11, navigate over to week 4, go to my links, and I want to make sure that I'm grabbing brochure image 3, but .tiff. So again, make sure you're double checking it against the naming convention so you don't accidentally relink it with the wrong image. So it's going to take a little bit of concentration. And you can look at the difference in the size right here. This is exactly what we were talking about. That JPEG was 2.4 megabytes. Once we resaved it as a TIFF file, it's now 10 megabytes. So it really is a difference in size. And hit open. So looks exactly the same. It's still placed exactly the same, but now it's a TIFF file as opposed to being a JPEG file. And I'm just going to go right down the list and do it for each of them. So this one's brochure image 7. Let's go to my little link icon there. Go down to brochure image 7.tiff and hit open. Relink it. Oh, whoops, I grabbed the wrong one. Command Z. See, gotta make sure you're grabbing the right one. 7. I was like, wait a minute. That turned into the guy, the world's most photogenic kayaker. All right, go down to page 2. I like to watch what's happening too to make sure I don't mess it up. All right, brochure image 1. Relink to the TIFF file. Again, 1, 1. Good. Next, I have number 4. Number 4, number 4. Then I have number 5. Number 6. For real this time. And I have kayak 1. Right here. And I have kayak 4. Perfect. And then I always like to go back through my links and just double check everything, make sure I got them all. So I've got 4, 1, 6, 5, 4, 1, 7, 3, and then my logo is fine as an AI file. All right, perfect. So what I need to do next is I need to save this file, and it keeps giving me the save as command because originally when I created this file, like I said, I opened up my old one that I had done. It was CC 2018, and now I'm in CC 2019, so that's why it keeps giving me that that save as opposed to just being able to save it. Make sure I'm in the right folder that I made and hit save. Replace it. Next thing that I need to do is I need to package this. So I am going to create my folder in week 4 with the correct name from the assignment right here, create a folder. Under submission requirements, I'm going to copy that. And I'm just going to make a folder right in my week 4 folder. Name it DES 114. Assignment 4. Oh, whoops. Do I already have something named that? DES 114, assignment 4. I do. I'll use my full name. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to package everything into here. So next I go to File, Package. Again, double check everything. My fonts look good. I don't have any missing links. My colors are just CMYK. Print setting, external plugins, okay. I did all my changes from my client. I made sure everything's within my margin and everything was within my bleed. And I hit package. And I'm gonna navigate over to that week 4 folder I just made. The one with my full name. And again, I wanna include a PDF, all printer marks. Although if this messes up like it did last time, I think, you know, I'm going to uncheck that because that seemed to be where it got stuck last time, and I'll just make a PDF. I'm going to just, you can include the PDF with all printer marks like you saved in week 2, but if I was having some real trouble for some reason making a file today. So hopefully it'll just, all right, that worked. Whew. Save. And then I'm going to do File, Adobe PDF presets. And again, I have that one, all printer marks. I'm going to go into week 4, into this folder, and I'm going to save that PDF in here. And just double check it. I'll print mark to use document bleed settings and then export. Hopefully, there we go. All right. Didn't want to do it last time, but hey, it did it this time. Perfect. And then save that. Then I'm going to do the same exact thing for my poster. So I'm going to go into week 2 and grab my assignment. Oh, whoops, no, my assessment. And I'm gonna kind of back out of my folder I'm packaging everything in. I'm just going to drag my week 4 assessment, holding down the option key. So I'm making a copy of that. There we go. I'll rename it 4 for assessment 4 for week 4. And you can delete out that IDML and that PDF file. And the reason why I'm deleting those out is that way I don't get confused and think, oh, this might be the one that I packaged. You know, if I don't see that in there, then I know I didn't package it. And just double check. And I never finished this. So maybe my comments were, and I might as well do it right now, maybe my comments were like, hey, you forgot all the body copy on your assessment for week 2. So I'm going to go back into week 2, and I'm going to grab the body copy that I forgot to put in. And then I'll have a full poster to show. So let's see. I need a headline, Sunset Paddle Adventures. Whew, InDesign is just hurting today. Look at this. Doo-doo-doo. All right, there we go. Keeping it within my margin. I'm just going to copy that in and center it, and then I'm going to use Helvetica 95. I think. Maybe he'll back a 96. Bring that up a little bit. I'm going to just design this really quick. Maybe move my logo down, keep my headline up at the top. I want to make sure, I don't know if I ever added the swatches during week 2. I did. All right. Perfect. Whoops. That to be my text color, not the background color. Or maybe I'll do something like this. And this is a little trick I used to do at I design coupons as well. I'm holding down the Option key and I'm kind of dragging this over to the right a little bit and then down a little bit. And I'm gonna make this the blue and send it to the back. Or send it backwards behind the orange. Maybe give this, I don't know if it'll work. We'll see. A little bit of a white outline. And then give that back one a little bit of more of a blue outline. There we go. Just to stand out a little. So we've got Sunset Paddle Adventures. Although I don't feel like it's still really standing out for my clients. So maybe I'm going to add a little bit of a bar with the lighter blue. And again, I'm going to grab the bar and I'm going to grab my picture and I want to send both of those to the back. And I want my bar to bleed, so I need to make sure it goes right to my bleed line on both sides. Maybe even I want it to bleed up at the top too. We'll see. Close that up to the bleed line. There we go. Make it nice and neat. And again, making sure I'm keeping my text in my margin. Then I need my body copy. And I'm going to use the same font that I've been using in my assignment for this week. So let me look at that. Because again, I want everything to match. I already had that done. I want to say that's Gaudi I picked. I can usually tell by Gaudi old style. Yes, it is. Again, just want to make sure everything matches. Consistency. Go Gaudi old style. I'm going to center that. Make it a little bit bigger. And then again, family adventure packages available. I want to just kind of set that off from the rest of it because it doesn't have that period at the end. So maybe I'll bold that. Maybe move this to the next line. Maybe make this just a little bit bigger. I'm going to leave the text black, just so it stands out nicely against this background. And then I have my call to action, which is the visit aquaexcursions.com for more information. So again, I need that to stand out. I'm going to do something similar to the headline. I'm going to drag a bar down here, but I'm not going to run it all the way to the bottom. I'm just going to run it right where my margin is. And I'm going to make a copy of this font box. Although, I just want the font to be white. And maybe we'll do Gaudi and Gaudi with just my web address in the Helvetica. I want to be nice and centered, so I'm going to make the text box the same size as my rectangle, and then I'm going to go up into Object, Text Frame Options, and where it says Vertical Justification, I'm going to change that to Centered, and it's going to center it for me. Although, technically centered, I like it visually centered, which is kind of just bumping it up a smidge. And save that. So again, I need to swap out my JPEG for TIFF files. So I'm going to go in to my links folder, grab that JPEG, open it up in Photoshop, do a file, save as, change that to a TIFF, LZW, hit OK. Seems to be remembering it, which is good. And then I'll select it again in my links, go to my little relink thing, navigate to week 4, this is my assessment, so to assessment, kayak sunset 6.tiff, swap it out, save, and I'm going to package this whole thing, again, into that same folder I packaged my brochure into. So I'm going to do a file package, double check everything. And oh, it remembered where I was. That's always nice. So this one's going to be named Assessment 4, which is fine. What you can do, I think it might tell you to do this. I'm not going to be extremely picky as long as I can tell what things are called. You can, when you put things in, name them like, assignment, poster, assessment, or assessment, poster, assignment, trifold, if you think it'll be easier, but it's okay to leave it assessment and assignment. I'll be able to tell. Although for this one, there's going to be 2 assessments, so I'm going to name this poster. And again, next I'll make that PDF. So it was doing that weird stuff the last time. Go to week 4. To assessment 4. There we go. And put that PDF in there. Double check all my marks and bleeds and export. Perfect. So I've now got my poster in there. I have my trifold in there. Next, all I need is my sign from week 3. So I'll go into week 3, into my assessment. And again, I want to grab my text version and my outlines version and open them both up. Okay, so I have outlines. We'll pretend I have some changes I had to do for my client. double checking that everything is the spot colors, which it looks like it is. I'm going to do a file, save as. This is my outlines version. I'm going to go into week 4, into my folder where I've packaged everything. I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm just going to call it week 4 signage. Again, you can call it that as well if you would like. I'll change the 3 to 4. And this I'm going to save as a PDF file. And I can take out the outlines and just save it as a PDF. And then close out that. This one still has it set as text. So for this one, I'm going to save it as an AI file, like I have it. I'm going to do a file, save as. Again, go to that same week 4 signage post folder that I just created. I'm going to change this to 4. Again, I can take off the word text because this is being saved as a native AI file, which is different from the PDF file. So it's 2 different naming conventions, even though they seem like they have the same name. I'm going to save that and close it. And then I'll double check everything. I want to look at my PDF for my sign. Go to Output, Preview. And again, if you've upgraded to 2019, this will work. You can unclick spot plates, and there shouldn't be anything else that shows up. There should just be your 2 spot plates and nothing else when you unclick them. So that's how you know that that is correct. But also double check your poster and your trifold as well. When you see, you should only have 4 plates there. And the same thing for your trifold. Should only be 4 plates. Perfect. All right, so now to the fun part, which is adding everything to our Behance page. So the first thing that you need to do is you actually need to open up your PDF files and you need to save them as JPEGs, which Acrobat will do for you. And it was kind of funny. I was doing this earlier today to make the JPEGs to upload to the discussion, and it took like 10 times to give me the option to save it as a JPEG. And I was like, I swear Acrobat did not have an update. What is going on here? But it just, Adobe, I don't know if it's their server today or if it's my machine, but it is running slow for me. So I'm going to open up my poster first. Then I'm going to open up my trifold, and then I'll open up my sign. And I just want to do, very quickly, you're going to do a file, and you're going to do export to image JPEG, which it shows this time. So we're already doing well. And I like to make a folder called Behance and put everything in there. So you might even just want to rename it to make it easier for yourself. I'm going to call this one sign. You know, sometimes if you see assignment and assessment, you're like, which one is which? Close it out. Do the same thing here. File, export to image JPEG. Navigate over to that Behance folder that we created, and I'm going to name this trifold. And it's going to save side 1 and side 2 as 2 different files for you, which is very nice of it. Save. And close that out. And then I'll do the same exact thing with the poster. File, export to image JPEG. Go to that folder, and I'm going to name this one poster, and hit save. And close them out. So what you can do at this point is it's really up to you. And sometimes it just has to do with how much time you have each week. And I'm not going to take off points if you don't do you know, a cool mock-up. I'm really not. I'm just looking to make sure that you've uploaded it to your Behance page. So I'm going to go to my Behance page. And log in. And you're going to want to navigate over to your face. And you're going to want to create a project. You can see I've already done this a couple of times. Oh, this is not mine. Oh, somebody shared their work with me. That's why it's showing up there. This is the one that I've done a couple of times. So sometimes when I teach this class, I don't do the trifold that you guys do. I redesign a pizza menu for a place in my town. And you know, it's the same, you know, setup. I just use something different. And then I show you how to mock it up. And then I make them a nice little sign and show you how to mark it up. And then I also make sometimes just different body copy and mock up the poster. And this one always cracked me up when I found this. I was looking for something to mock up, you know, poster, and I saw this and I thought to myself, who decided that this was a great idea? This is just too funny not to use. And then other times, again, I use the same design that you guys are making. So I have a couple of different things, but what you would do is just, you know, create a project. I would name it DES 114. You know, print production, so that way you know what all of your projects are. I try to keep all of my projects really organized on my Behance page. I have, you know, photography, some photo manipulation. From when I went to school, I had to do a rebranding project from the last time I went to school, so I still have that in here. A logo and some icons that I had to do. And a poster that's so old, but it's kind of fun to keep your old stuff up there too. Stickers I've done, graphics packages, again, paintings and drawings, other photo manipulation. I try to just keep everything nice and organized on my Behance page. So I would make a folder for DES 114. Sometimes I teach 105, so I have a folder for them up here. And, you know, it keeps it organized when people are going into your Behance page to see different things. All right. So if you go up to your Creative Cloud, that icon that it puts up at the top bar of your computer, and you go over to Assets, this is a really great feature that Adobe has. They're like, hey, we have a ton of great assets that you can use for free, which is always nice. Free is always nice. There's business card mock-ups. There's, you know, if you want to make a web page and show what it would look like on, you know, the MacBook, you can mock it up there. Some menus, you know, if you were doing a design for a logo and you want to put it on a notebook. I mean, just so many great things that you can do. But you can also do a search. So you can search for trifold. And you can see that there's a couple of different versions that you can mock up. I always seem to do the one on the black background, so today I'm going to switch it up a bit. I'm going to do the one on the white background. And it's going to ask you, do you want to add it to a library? So I already have a library called DES 114, so I'm going to add it to that library. If you don't have a library called DES 114, you can create one right in there and then add it. So I'm going to add that. And then I can't remember if I found the sign on here. I might not have. I might have gotten that somewhere else. Because this is, our sign's a little bit different, but randomly enough, it might fit in there. So you can try that one. I'll try it. Why not? See if there's any other good options. Watch now, I was gonna say, now I'll never find it. Here we go. Add it to my DES 114. And then my last one's a poster, which I think that weird poster I actually got from pexels.com. This is a much better, this is a much better mock-up. I'm gonna use this one right here. Again, that one just made me laugh so hard. I was like, I have to use this because it's so ridiculous. And actually, it would have been good, you know, last week for Halloween to use that one. So then what you'll do is you'll go into Photoshop and, oh, they changed where they put things. Nope, nope, nope. Home. Oh, you used to put your projects or the things that you downloaded right here, but that's okay. I'm going to go into that Behance folder that I created. And it didn't occur to me until right now that the new way that they do it, it probably would show up differently. I'm going to open up the poster first. And you probably have the crop and bleed marks just like I do. I want to take those out, and this is where those crop and bleed marks come in quite handy. I'm actually going to drop a ruler right to the inside of the white bar on each side. And I'm gonna do my own cropping like it would be at the printer. And hit enter. There we go. So get rid of those crop and bleed marks. And then I want to go into my library, my DES 114 library. And let's find those graphics. There we go. Here's my poster frame. So I'm going to double click on it, which is going to open it up in a new tab, which is great. And you're going to want to go to layers because it shows you where to put your design in. Again, super handy. So it says your design here. And if you double click on that, that is then going to open up in another tab. And then next, okay, that's great. Don't resolve. And then go down to replace me. So you're going to turn the replace me off because that's what you are literally replacing. And we're going to just copy and paste our poster in. So I'm going to do a Command A to copy it, and then Command V. And you can see the safe area. This is our safe area. So I am going to need to rescale this. So again, Command T, and make sure that you've linked or locked your aspect ratio. So that way when you resize it, and hopefully it's not gonna fit perfect. So you might need to just fudge it a little bit for this one and hit enter. And then hit save on this little tab. So when you go to the second tab, boom, there's your poster all mocked in for you. And then you can do a file, save as, go back to your Behance, and I would name it poster. I would give it a different name than what it tells you. You can call it poster aqua excursions. save the PSD file. Again, always make sure that you're saving those native files. So if you want to change something, so save it once as a PSD file and then do a file save as and save it as a JPEG. Large. And then you can close that out and close out your poster as well. I'm not going to save it, the cropped version. And then I'm going to do the same exact thing next with the sign because I want to see how the sign works. So I'm going to double click on the sign in my library. And then I'm going to open up my, okay, calm down, Macintosh. I'll open up my sign. And it says your logo here. So double click. It's going to open that up. So they have it set up as a logo. All right, so then replace this. So I am going to I'm going to do Command A, copy my sign, Command V, paste it in, and I really need to center it. So I'm going to try to grab both layers and see if I can just center this. Oh, I must have done very well. Turn that off. And hit save. And again, not exactly the world's best proportions, but if it fits and it looks good, you know. Let's see. Nope, not right. Hold on. Oh, it wants me to paste it actually into here. Okay. Take that out of here, delete that layer. Yes. Turn this on. Delete that and paste it in here. And I'm gonna have to get rid of that color overlay. That's what it is. All right. Whew. So say, what is going on here? And now we'll try it save. Like I said, this was the first time I used this one. That still doesn't look right. Why doesn't it like that? That's very bizarre. Even more bizarre, because it's still showing up. That makes no sense. I turned the layer off, it shouldn't be showing up. Why is it in this layer? It's really weird. Oh, that's so weird. I don't know if I like this one. Let me close that and try it again. Don't save. Close you out. All right. Logo here. Maybe let's try something different for this one. Let's try opening up our logo and just copying that in. Well, our vector artwork and copying that directly into Photoshop. I am bound and determined to make this work. Delete you. And make sure your proportions are set. That's a It's a little bit better, but not really. All right, so apparently it needs to be smaller. Oh, lock your proportions. Save. Okay. You can see that there's a lot of finagling with this one to get it to look right. I don't like the different effects that they've added, though. Let's go through and see if we can remove these. I don't know why they've got so many of them. Okay. And texture and remove the texture. Okay. Oh, because it looks like the glass. I get it. Okay. Oh, I get you now. Why you did that, I guess. So, layer style, update smart object. There we go. Because it looks like it's inside the glass. If you turn it off, it doesn't really look like it's got a glare. All right, so for this one, again, you're going to have to copy and paste it looks like, from Illustrator to get this one to work. But if you want just a sign, an actual sign, what I've done in the past is I've gone to pexels.com. And you can just put in sign. And the one that I found that works the best, randomly enough, is this one, the toilet one. Go figure. But the dimensions are pretty much the same. You just kind of replace it over that, and it's worked quite well. I don't know if they have any new ones. I guess you could kind of make it like a billboard. That might work. And for that, you would just be pasting it on top and getting it to conform. So let's look at this one and kind of make it into a billboard, I guess. I'll show you this one real quick. So you know both ways to do it. All right, so let's save this. File, save as. Go back to my Behance, and I'm going to name this Sign Aqua Excursions. And again, I'm going to save it as a PSD file, and I'm going to save it as a JPEG. Okay. Close you, leave you open, and leave you open. All right, perfect. So for this one, because my sign is going to be white, I'm going to have to do a little bit of photoshopping here. Probably the easiest thing to do is going to be to use Quick Mask and just kind of make my whole billboard white. So I go into Quick Mask, which is down here at the bottom. Go to the paintbrush tool. Make it a little bit smaller. And I hold down Shift, and they'll give you like that nice line. Again, these are just some using those Photoshop tools or Photoshop skills that you might not have used in a little bit while. It's always good to keep your other skills fresh, even though we've mainly been in InDesign, I feel like, this mod. Although we did quite a few things in Illustrator as well. But it's always good to, keep all of your skills, nice and fresh. Now we're just going to mask this out. Although I will say, aqua excursions, running a sign in the desert, kind of funny. Maybe they want you to leave the state, right? Are you sick of being in the desert? Come on a kayaking trip. Although the Colorado River does run, I believe, through there. I lived in Arizona for a bit, and I'm pretty sure that the Colorado River comes down through Utah. I hope, or my geography is really off. All right, then I'm going to go to my magic wand tool. I'm going to select the inside, and I'm going to go select, modify, expand it a little bit, just so I don't get that weird haze, and then go to edit, fill, foreground color, which is black, which will make it red, and then turn quick mask off, select the inverse, new layer, and fill it with white. And then I'm going to do, a little bit of an inner shadow. Just give it a little bit of depth. Okay. And I'll grab my sign again. Why am I, no. Get off of that tool. I'm going to tilt it a little and just skew it just a little bit. I'll fire you. I don't know why it's getting stuck on. Oh my goodness. Why isn't this working correctly? There we go. All right. Apparently wants me to really zoom in. Come on. You can do it. Adobe does not like me today. That's for sure. I don't know why this isn't working. All right. I'm holding down the command key and after doing a command T, and that's what allows you to grab the edges, but something is. Oh, all right. Change the interpolation to nearest neighbor, apparently. Whatever it defaults to now, it really didn't like that. Not that it seems to like this any better. Man, this is the most difficulty I've had in Photoshop in a while. All right, so that looks about right. And then I'm probably going to just use my eraser tool because I added that nice inner, wow. I don't know if you can see this on your screen. My Photoshop is like hating me right now. And try to clean up it so no white goes over that edge. All right. And again, do a file, save as. Go to my Behance, and I'm going to name this Sign Aqua Excursions 2. I'm going to name it as a PSD file, and I'm going to name it as a JPEG. So I've got 2 different versions. All right. Perfect. Close that out. Close you out. So I've got a couple of different options. And then last but not least, with 9 minutes to go, let's see if I can do this, this trifold. This one is, all right, this one takes a little bit more, but it looks great when it's done. And I don't know if I'm going to have enough time. So we'll see how far I get. I'm going to open up my computer. If my computer will just bear with me, I'm going to open up my trifold. I'm going to do the same exact thing that I did for the poster. I'm going to drop a ruler. I'm going to crop this just like it would at the printer. Oops, too far. Okay, perfect. And crop you. And then you'll open up that trifold brochure. And where it says, all right, this gets a little bit confusing. So it says, replace me right here. And if you double click, no, double click, no. All this does is it opens up the logo and it lets you put a logo in. But we have a whole brochure we need to put in. So I wanted to just kind of point that out, that it gets a little bit weird. And what you're going to need to do is instead turn that logo off, and you're going to need to replace or place just the front panel of your brochure. So that's going to require you to kind of know where your margin is and where it should be. So I'm going to draw some guides here. And again, this is one of those things that takes a little bit of kind of finagling a little bit. Slows you up a little. And I'm going to, with my marquee tool, copy my front panel and paste it in. And you'll notice it puts it in where that layer mask is, which is good because well, no, I don't want it like that. Hold on. Sorry about that. Lindsay, there we go. place it on top. And then we're gonna pull that layer mask on top. Again, Command T. Rotate you. Try to get it as close as you can, and then I'm going to hold down Shift to scale it down. Again, you can lock it, because for some reason, Shift lately has not been really working. And then zoom in a little. And you can see my Photoshop is having some major issues today. I'm going to hold down the Command key. I'm going to grab that edge. I'm going to bring it down to this corner. Grab this edge. Attempt to get it to that corner, which it doesn't want to do. Bring this guy over here. And bring this edge up here. This edge. Come on, you can do it. Come on. You should see me fighting with my mouse right now. It's like insane that this is not working. There we go. All right. Lay that flat and then hit enter. And I'm going to drag the cover mask onto that layer. Come on. Oh, man. Nothing about Photoshop wants to work. There we go. Turn that off. All right. So that's what I would do for each and every section. But this is where it gets a little bit tricky. All right, so here's your cover, which is all we're going to see of side one. Notice how it's folded. On the inside, you're going to need to open up side two and do the same thing. You're going to need to crop it because the inside, right here, this panel of side two should show right here. The middle should show right underneath here. And then this is all of the inside opened up right here. And that's what you're going to do is you're going to set these up. And when it's done, it will look like that, but it will actually look like, come on, this one. And you can see what I did, which I think is a good idea, is I uploaded the flattened piece as well with the crop marks gone. So that way, you know, people can see, oh, this was the full side one, this is side two, here it is mocked up so you can see what it looks like. I think that that really helps, and it just adds a little bit more to your Behance page than just putting just the JPEGs up there. So anyways, make sure that you are emailing a copy of or a link to your Behance page to both me and your FPA. If I happen to be your FPA, you are able to put the link in the submission box, but you can only do that and get the points if I'm also your FPA. And your FPA is located, you can find your FPA by going to your My Independence, so your portal, your student portal. I'll show you how. So you would go to the student portal, log in, and it's right on the homepage, Advisor, Faculty, Program Advisor. You can see who your FPA is, and it even links right to their email. So make sure that you're sending both of us a link to your Behance page. Try to send a link directly to the folder that you created, just so that way I can find it. If you happen to have a lot of different files up there, it makes it a little bit easier. So again, Have fun with this week. If you're kind of running short on time and you just want to get those 5 points to get that artwork up into Behance, that's okay to just upload the JPEGs. But at some point, if you do have a minute, we're kind of next mod, we're going into, I believe it's either next mod or the mod after, we're going into the holiday break. If you want to really start to set up your Behance page during the holiday break, if you have some extra time, I say go for it. So thank you, everyone. I hope you had a great class this mod. I certainly did. And if you have any questions or concerns, make sure you're coming into the multi-session tomorrow. And again, I really look forward to seeing all of your press-ready work this week. Have a great week.